while loops will basically run forever until you tell them to stop. And so we've seen for loops before, and you've probably even seen a for each loop before. Now we're going to tackle a new one called a while loop. And this is actually one of the old ones. This is one of the ones that existed along the times of for, but this one is called while. And so the idea here is while something is true, execute this code. And it's going to do this forever. So be careful here because you can crash your browser. You're not likely to crash your computer. Your browser will crash long before your computer crashes if you're using a modern browser. But the idea here is that this will run forever and ever and ever until something is no longer true. So what we can say here is let num is equal to 0. And let's say something needs to be true all the time. So while num is less than 100, go ahead and execute this code. So we'll say console.log num. Now the important thing here is, unlike a for loop, a while loop, you need to explicitly make sure that this becomes false at some point. And so we could say num++, and that's simply going to say execute this. On the first iteration, num becomes 1. Second iteration becomes 2. Third iteration, it becomes 3. All the way up to the 100th iteration, it becomes 100. Then it's going to say 100 is not less than 100, so this is now false. Stop executing it. So let's go ahead and give this a shot. And the important thing here is that we are at some point making sure that this will become false. Because right now, this is true. This is saying while 0 is less than 100, execute this. And then it's going to do the second iteration, third iteration, fourth, fifth, all the way up until it gets to 100. This is no longer going to be true. So stop running it. But we're going to use a variable instead. So let's go ahead and save that and refresh. And we're going to see this console logs 0 to 100 pretty quickly. Just like that. 0 to, I said 100, I meant 99 because 100 is less than 100. That's a false statement. That's incorrect. But we have 100 numbers in here because we started at 0. That's what I was talking about. We started at 0. 99, so 99 plus an extra number is 100. So we have 100 numbers in here. And so this is a really good way of making something happen right away. Now, JavaScript is fast. And so if you're trying to ping your server over and over and over again for like a chat update, for instance, this is going to hit your server 100 times nearly instantly. And that's going to bog down your server. So you would rather use a set interval for that rather than a while loop. Now, where this gets interesting is you can do something like this, while true, and then at some point you can break out of this loop. And you'll see this a lot in Python, PHP. You'll also see it in Node.js. So while something is true, keep doing something. And so we could ask for someone's name. So we could say let name is equal to prompt. What is your name? And then we can say if that name is equal to strict, because every piece of user input always comes in as a string. Even if it's a number, it comes in as a string. So we're going to say if that name is a string and also happens to be Caleb, let's go ahead and break out of this loop. Otherwise, let's not break out of this loop. This is going to be false if it's a different name, and say console.log wrong name. Wrong name, try again. And so at this point, we're basically creating a guessing game. And so let's go ahead and refresh this. And it says, what is your name? I could put in Jacob. Nope, not going to work. I could put in Steve. Not going to work. I could put in Caleb, and that's going to work. And it says, wrong name, try again, wrong name, try again. So I guessed Jacob at first, then I tried Steve again. Didn't work. It just kept going. It just kept working until I told it to break out of this loop. So there's two ways to break out of a while loop. Now, what I would like you to do is give both of these a shot, because this one is a really good way to create a guessing game, and where you ask for a number, and then if that number is the right number, break out of the loop. Otherwise, ask again. Maybe tell them they're wrong. Maybe tell them to try again. You can create a guessing game with 6 lines of code. Anywho, go ahead, give this a shot. Make sure that you always have this little fella right there, so that eventually this statement up here becomes false. Or if you're just using while true, make sure you definitely have a break statement. You can also use break up here if you wanted to say if number is equal to 50, break, and that will get out of the loop and it will only console log up to the number 50. Regardless, I'd like you to give this a shot. Just make sure, yeah, you have some sort of way of verifying this as false, or you're breaking out of that loop with some sort of conditional. Remember, you're not going to hurt your computer, but you might crash your browser. If you crash your browser, you're going to want to comment your code, open up the file again, so it doesn't keep crashing your browser over and over again. That gets a little frustrating, a little irritating, but you can always comment your code out, reopen the file, rewrite some code, uncomment it, try it out again. In the next lesson, let's go ahead and talk about date formatting.